Show of hands, who finds it difficult to be consistent? I talk about consistency quite a bit. You probably heard about it on the internet if you're in the personal development, self-help space. So what I want to do in this episode is take a little bit of time and look at how it is we can actually be consistent. What is the one mindset shift that you should make that will allow consistency to become much, much easier and much, much more simple for you to be able to do? Welcome back to Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast, the show that helps you to systemize success in the 4 foundational pillars of faith, fellowship, fitness, and finance through high performance habits. My name is Rasean, your host and your favorite internet neurotransformation coach. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about consistency, how to become more consistent and build life-changing habits. So what I want to do is introduce you to a guy named Brad Isaac. If you've never heard of him, at the time when I was doing some research for this episode, I found out that Brad Isaac, at the time of finding this information, he was a young comic. And he actually met Jerry Seinfeld, who many of you all probably know. And since he was a young comic at the time, he asked Jerry Seinfeld for tips of what he could do to become a better comic, since, he met him and he's like, whoa, this guy's like, he's got it made. So what can I do to be more like him? Remember from the last episode, we talked about mentors, the 10 plus year. So this was kind of like this kind of a situation. And so here's how, and I'm going to read it verbatim. Here's how Isaac described his interaction with Seinfeld. That's going to lead us into the idea of consistency. I quote, he said, "The way to become a better comic was to create better jokes, and the way to create better jokes was to write every day." He, referring to Seinfeld, told me to get a big wall calendar that has a whole year on one page and hang it on a prominent wall. The next step was to get a big red magic marker. He said, for each day that I do my task of writing, I get to put a big red X over that day. After a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep at it and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain. We could end the episode right there, because notice how there's no talk of results. It's just consistency. Notice how when Brad's job was simply just to not break the chain, gone is the whole idea of motivation. Gone is the entire idea of being good. Gone are the excuses, because it doesn't matter what happens. If you didn't do it, you can't put the X on the calendar. And if you can't put the X on the calendar, you broke the chain of consistency, meaning it is going to be that much harder for you to start up again. All that matters is not breaking the chain. So what I want to do is introduce you to the law of 100. Now, we're not going to go crazy and put a red X on every single day for 365 days. All I want you to do is we're going to take a smaller subsection of that. The law of 100, you want to commit to your habits for 100 days. Whatever habit it is you want to build. For example, let's say waking up early. Waking up at, let's say, 5 a.m. every single day. You want to set a goal to wake up at 5 a.m. for the next 100 days. And yes, that includes your weekends. No days off. 100 days. That's a little over 3 months. What you want to do is adjust your schedule for something like that. Assuming you want to wake up at 5 a.m. You want to adjust your schedule for that. You want to make the necessary changes to accommodate this habit that you want to build. This is all going off of the assumption that the habit that you have is going to positively impact your life, and you know it will. You know this is a step that you need to take to accomplish the success and the dreams and goals that you have in life. Assuming that is already in place, this is where the law of 100 takes place. After you commit to the habit for 100 days, the next thing you want to do is disappear for those 100 days. Focus solely on the goal. Limit social interactions, limit distractions. You want to prioritize this habit and your personal growth. For example, if you want to go to a party or go hang out with the boys on Friday, usually you all hang out till like 11, 12 o'clock. If you want to do that, just know you still have that goal of waking up at 5 in the morning, unless you want to break the chain, which I'm pretty sure you don't want to break the chain. So Assuming you don't want to break the chain, you may have to reject that Friday night with the boys. You may have to just do that. You may have to sacrifice that late night movie that you really wanted to see on Netflix. You may have to sacrifice it. So it's your job to pick the goal that it is that you want to accomplish, focus on it for the next 100 days, and not break the chain for the next 100 days. And what this is going to do is teach you that consistency trumps talent. Successful people are the ones who are consistent. For anybody who has started a business or started anything long-term and stuck with it for the long haul, they know that consistency is way better than simply pure intelligence or pure talent. It just is. Consistency compounds over time. Someone who could be naturally talented at running will never, ever outperform somebody who is determined to become the best runner. Someone who's never run a day in their life can become a better runner than someone who's naturally talented by simply working harder. That's it. Simply working harder than the hardest working person. Now, a lot of people mistakenly believe that for me to become the best person, I need to do as much as the best person. That's not the case. Some people still mistakenly believe that. So if you still do, just realize that if you want to become the best, you have to beat the best. If the best, let's say, salesperson is making 50 calls a day and you start making 50 calls a day, the best you can ever do is meet them. What you need to do is exceed them, especially if you're lower on the totem pole ranking. You have more catching up to do. Not only is that person, that salesperson, a seasoned veteran in what they do, and they can just do it without thinking about it, you not only have to catch up, but you have to now exceed. So you have to do 60, 70, 80, 100 calls to just get those reps and sets in, which leans on the ideology of failing fast. People are afraid of failure. And because you're afraid of the failure, you're not going to ever see the eventual success. It's only when you fail fast and fail often that you will then eventually see, okay, hold on now. This didn't work. So let me tweak that really quick. Okay, now I tweaked that. That's starting to work. So you double down on that and do that more until you find something else is the limiting factor. And you realize, oh, wait, this isn't working as much as I wanted it to. Let me tweak that now. And then you tweak that while still keeping what works going. And you keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again. The next thing you know, you start getting this thing called momentum, aka snowball effect, and things just start to take off. How long will it take? I'm not the one to be able to tell you because one, I don't know your goal. And two, even if I did know your goal, it depends on how hard you want to work at it. How driven, how hungry are you to get this? I believe it was Ice Cube. He said, and I'm going to grossly paraphrase this, but he was saying that if you have this goal and your goal is to, let's say, start a business and make money off of it, you have to be willing to put in about 5 years of effort into it and still love it just as much as you did day one. In the meanwhile, all those 5 years, you aren't making a single dime off of what you do. If you can't see yourself sticking with something for the next 5 years realistically, don't even start. Because if you don't have the passion behind it, you don't have the purpose, you don't have the emotional why behind it, you will not stick to it. That's also part of being consistent, is that you need to do it over and over and over again, even on days you don't feel like it. Despite me at the time of this recording, we are 165 episodes into this podcast. Most people do not get past episode 10 of a podcast. You'll be surprised if people even get past episode 50. And here we are 165 episodes in, and I'm still enjoying recording these episodes even more so. I was going to say as much as I did day one, but even more so than I did, because now I have so much fun coming onto the microphone and giving this information to you, and it makes a difference. It makes a change. People are impacted by this. So every time I hear positive comments and people who are impacted by this positively, it really warms my heart. I love to see when you guys send me messages, whether it be a comment on YouTube or a DM on Instagram or anything like that. It's really good. Every now and again to see that, it warms my heart because I know I'm impacting people, and that gives me the fuel to keep going and just keep pushing. Despite me being tired and exhausted sometimes and not wanting to record, I know people are being impacted. And so because there is that emotional why, there is that driving force behind it, I just keep going. You just keep going. And that's why I preach about the emotional why so hard. And this is how to be consistent. Once you know what your goal is, you've got that why. The why becomes a pulling force instead of a pushing force. Instead of pushing and forcing, it's now more of a magnetic attraction. You don't have to be forced to go do anything. You don't have to be forced to wake up at 5 a.m. You don't have to be forced to go to the gym. You don't have to be forced to record that episode. You don't have to be forced to make that YouTube video. You don't have to be forced to do any of that. It just happens naturally because that pull is so strong. And you know what the byproduct of that is? My next point. You then create new neural pathways through the concept of neuroplasticity, where the brain is able to change and adapt through consistent effort. So being consistent with that strong emotional why and doing it over and over and over and over again will over time create the neural pathway. And what did we say in the past about neuroplasticity and neural pathways? Neurons that fire together, what? Wire together, meaning it becomes second nature for you to behave and do certain actions. You see how all these things work together so beautifully? This is how you become more consistent. You find that emotional why, you reverse engineer it, piecemeal down to what it is that you need to accomplish, and then follow the law of 100. Follow the Seinfeld Calendar Method, where for the next 100 days, you will take a marker or a pen or whatever it is, physical, not digital this time, physical, pen and paper, and you will mark off X's on the calendar every day that you did what you said you were going to do. If you said you're going to exercise, you're going to exercise every day. I didn't say go ham balls to the wall at the gym every single day, but if you're doing, let's say, a push-pull leg split, you do that 6 days a week, and day 7, let's say you walk a mile, or you walk a mile, you walk 5 miles, whatever. You take it easy that day, but you did exercise. You moved. Mark the X. You did your push-pull legs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You mark the X's all those days. Your job is to not break the chain. And that's what I have for you for this episode, guys. Hopefully you learned something and hopefully you implement something. And I will catch you all on the next episode. And guys, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Motivate, Grind, Succeed, the podcast. Guys, again, if you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the show for weekly uploads. If you love what you heard, be sure to sign up for that email list. And if you hated what you heard, be sure to share it with somebody who will appreciate it. Also, if you guys want to get access to the show notes or any kind of resource or link or to anything that was referenced in this episode, be sure to check out that episode description below. You'll also find the contact information, any freebies, or any sort of thing from our little corner of the internet. Check out the episode description. It's going to be an absolute gold mine for you guys. Until next time, take care, and I will see you in the next episode.